No excuses other than moving forward, what I will do, because I do always like for you guys to know when to expect me next. I will just kind of give a time frame. I'll say, you know, tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, and I won't give an exact time. So, you know, my apologies, but I am back. Your girl is back, and I hope you guys can hear me okay. Down a little bit. I'll move it down just a little bit. So I hope you guys can hear me okay. I don't know if the sound is better. Normally I try to do like a quick little sound check just to make sure that my mic is not completely out, because what a waste of a live. Although I would hope that someone in the course of a mic being out would, you know, hop on real quick and let me know that I can't hear you. At least type it into the chat. But today's topic that I really wanted to cover, because I always have felt that, you know, in retrospect, when people talk about like the memory of Michael Jackson, the memory of the King of Pop, that they rarely really talk about just how impactful this incident, and this is the Pepsi commercial. You all see MJ. He was PYT young then, but excuse me, he was PYT back then, a pretty young thing. You guys see him? But yeah, they rarely talk about just what of an impact that incident had on like the string of events, you know, thereafter, that, you know, for his life. That happened in 1984, January 27th of 1984. MJ was just 25 years old at the time. Very much at like, oh no, okay, we can't have that. Very much at the, you know, still going up, but, you know, very much at the top of his career. And he and his brothers, I hope you guys can see okay, and that my head is not blocking MJ. MJ, can they see you? They can see you? Okay. All right. You guys know I do that. You guys know I like to turn to my right and to my left, actually. Turn to my left and say, hey. But anyway, so yeah, so he actually had signed a endorsement deal. He and his brothers did. At the time, it was for like $5 million, which I believe was like probably the most that any celebrity had been offered for any type of endorsements deals back then in '84. So it's kind of a really big deal. And with this commercial that MJ did, it was supposed to kind of recreate MJ Live concert. And at the time, he was singing his, you know, he was singing his Billie Jean hit song at the time, and it was also held at LA's, this is just a little FYI, you guys, but it was also at LA's Shrine Auditorium. So that little mock concert, you know, was held there. So it really looked like the real deal. And with that, it was, you know, fireworks, a lot of pyrotechnics or whatever. Am I saying it right? Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, but anyway, it was fireworks, all that stuff going on around MJ at the time. And supposedly it was like 6 takes. On that very last take is when, you know, his scalp had caught fire, his hair had caught fire. Now, prior to, the director of the commercial, you know, supposedly, and, you know, this is all allegedly, but because it was settled outside of court, but supposedly the director at the time was not pleased with how, I guess, he made it all the way down to the bottom of the stairs before the fireworks would go off behind him. And the director wanted the timing to be more like, you know, before, you know, like boom, bam, and then he comes down the steps. So, you know, it was said that the director asked MJ to please, you know, wait a little bit longer before you come down the steps. Come down the steps after the fireworks have already gone off. Now, on that 6th take, supposedly that explosion was a little bit bigger than the previous 5 takes as well. And witnesses that were on set at the time said that, MJ was told by the director, several times that, the longer you stand there, the more majestic you're going to look, so like try to wait it out. And for you guys, because I always say, a lot of my subscribers and just people that catch any MJ videos like this, usually you guys know your stuff. So this might not be anything that's new to you guys. You guys, like I always say, you all are the experts. So a lot of you all may have actually seen the footage from the commercial and actually seen, because there is on YouTube live footage of MJ's hair actually catching fire, which is really kind of rough to watch. But through that, it's just really something, because if you notice, although sometimes you can have a delayed reaction to certain things, but if you guys notice that, who's there? Hey, Marquise. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Same to you, same to you. Thank you, thank you. But yeah, so, and then I always tell you guys, even if you're not catching this live while it's live and you're catching it after the fact, it's all good. You guys can always read the comments in the live chat. It takes a little bit for it to process, but those comments that are left, usually very good, insightful comments, and just, so you guys can get to know the community. Hey there, Riker's back. Hey, hey. Shout out to Riker as well. But yeah, so you guys can check out Riker's and Marquise's comments even after the fact. And also, I have been getting comments that, because as we know, MJ has fans globally. So a lot of people that do follow MJ content on YouTube do not speak the English language. However, it takes about a day or two after his process, but then the closed captioning in other languages are made available. Hey, Riker. No, it's okay. It is all good. I'm so glad that you're able to join today. This is what live is all about. And like I say, my apologies for not being right on time, but I'm still here. Like I say, in the future, what I will do, because I do value everyone's time. So if there is anyone, if there are people that are really carving time out of their schedule to make the lives, I do not want to take for granted anyone's time. So what I'll do is in the future, I'll just kind of give like a general time frame, in the afternoon, in the evening, I will go live. Let me see what the comment was. Oh, thanks, Marquise. I appreciate it. Really appreciate it. And I'm so glad you guys are making the live. But we're talking about, and I'm really interested to hear what you guys, Marquise, Riker, anybody else who joins. But this really had a huge impact a huge impact on MJ's life. You know what I mean? It did change him forever. Riker's so right. Yeah, this event, and it almost feels like, we've always heard if someone is at the right place at the right time, basically that just means a fated type of event. Something was meant to happen. But this one commercial, this one event, this one endorsement deal day, January 27th, 1984, it really did change MJ forever. This is, and of course this is supposedly, allegedly, but I believe it to be. And it could have been. Okay, so Marquise is actually raising a potential, nothing surprises me. I am one of these people that, I do like to kind of do my research into things, but I will believe a conspiracy theory in a minute. Anything is possible. It just is. I've had so many strange things happen in my life that I believe anything is possible. And just, the level of fame that he was at is possible. It is possible. So I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but I do know that one event, it changed MJ forever, from, him having to wear wigs. They say after this, he was in continuous pain. Supposedly doctors, I don't, this has just been bits of what I have read, but supposedly doctors had to like use balloons to stretch his skin out, and he still had to have like a metal plate put into his head and his scalp in that area. And from that, he always experienced headaches, and he was always in a lot of pain. Yeah, I think he was used in a lot of different ways. I agree, Marquise. I do. I would have to agree with you, no doubt. But, like I say, from that, and especially, they say in the 80s that the use of opioids, sorry, I get a little tongue twisted there, but that was highly like recommended and pushed by medical doctors at that time. And I do, I understand, like, if you're in a lot of pain, you need something. It's just unfortunate that a lot of times prescription medication that is prescribed to patients is addictive, extremely addictive. Other people wanted him to stay there longer. Yes, right. So that Riker is so right. Riker's writing an excellent comment in there. So that's what I read too. And that person that wanted him to stay longer on the stage was the director. Whatever his name was, Giraldi or something like that. But the director of the video supposedly felt that if MJ stayed at the top of the stairs longer, and actually waited till after the fireworks exploded on the side of him, then it would look more like wow, more majestic, as they said. Yep. And after the fifth take, then they did the last one, and they claimed that the explosions on top of him actually waiting it out were even larger than the previous 5 takes, that it was even larger of an explosion, and some of the sparks or whatever hit him, and it took him a while. Now sometimes you can, like, I can even have like a delayed reaction sometime to pain where I'm like, or I guess anybody can, where you touch something and it takes like a second or two before you realize just how hot it is. But there's a lot of footage that shows Michael Jackson still dancing after his hair is on fire. And, and this is just allegedly where he was asked, like, why were you still dancing afterwards? Like, did you feel it? And I guess he felt some level of pain, but he was saying that he didn't want to disappoint fans, meaning that I'm guessing that as an entertainer, you're meant to whatever, execute through pain, execute through discomfort, just keep moving. I don't think he was aware that his hair was on fire. I think he felt some some level of pain, but he wasn't aware just of, what was happening until he got to the bottom, and then he was, the bottom of the steps, and then he was really aware and panicked. But other than that, like, I think it's just it holds up even all through, like, even when the paramedics came, Michael, he was always aware of his image as an entertainer, and just to uphold, to be gracious to fans, wave, smile when you're in discomfort. He was even graceful through that, because I know I would have just, oh my God. But two, I also heard that, him keeping the glove on at the time, and especially even after the Thriller album, his vitiligo got increasingly bad. From what I heard, that was the wearing of the glove, not only was it a fashion statement, but it also had to do with him covering up some of his discoloration. So I don't know if that too is why he, even when the paramedics came, he requested for them to please keep on his glove, that the media was there. Even footage shown of him at the burn center, he still had on his gloves, doctors, nurses taking pictures with him and stuff. Supposedly they took a picture, were taking pictures with him the very next day. He was still in a whole lot of pain, but he agreed to it because Michael's always very gracious. Very kind to fans and to the public. He was also taking pictures with other patients that were there at the burn unit, and he still had his glove on, which some of that, I think too, well, I think maybe possibly both, was to uphold, you know, his image as an entertainer, that he's still MJ, you know, he's going through a lot of pain, but he's still there. Hi, hey. And this will be translatable later down the line. I don't even know if translatable is a word, but you will be able to translate this live a few days after it processes. So it'll be available to CC closed caption. Just takes a little bit, which I found out later because I actually finally went back and looked at some of my lives, and I'm like, okay, well, I do see the CCs up there. So thank you. That was in another language, that comment. So, and I hope you guys can see MJ and I'm not blocking. But yeah, but just MJ, you know, always, and I've talked about this in previous lives, so this is not anything that's new. But he came from an era, well, first of all, MJ was born and he was groomed to be an entertainer. He never really had that option that most celebrities have, that, you know, or most adults have, anybody has, to decide, okay, this is the direction, the career path that I want to go into. That was what he was, you know, performing as early as the age of 5. That's what he was groomed to become, groomed to do. And he always was aware of his image as an entertainer, as a celebrity, always incredibly gracious, very kind, very loving to his fans, always trying to uphold. And even through pain, like, come on. He, even with his bandages on the stretcher, being on his way to the hospital, he's still trying to like wave a little bit with like, God bless him. Oh my God. And not to digress too far off, but just a little, you know, a little story time. For me, in 2020, I experienced, and I'm gonna show you guys, people usually see this and they think that I got into like a fight. Can you guys see it? They usually think that I got into like some kind of fight. And wait, it was actually 2. It was like this, but these are both burns that I experienced same year, freaking 2020. And it was like months apart in the kitchen, at home, when he reached the bottom. Yeah, that's what I heard too. Yep. And yep, that I did hear that too, that Michael had called out for his brother, for Tito. And everybody kind of, you know, surrounded him to put the fire out. But he panicked. And as we know, usually if it's a big fire, you should smother it. But he was like panicked, and he was like whirling around as anybody would, because it's kind of like natural instinct. But it was making it worse. But he panicked a little bit there. Yep. But excellent comment, Riker. Good info too. You guys can check it out later. But yeah, back to my little story time. I'm not going to digress for too long, but I was just saying about this. This is the worst. I have never experienced. And then afterwards, okay, so I was in the kitchen at home. I have a stainless steel waffle iron, and it was turned off, closed up after I had already cooked breakfast. And, you know, I'm moving along, cleaning up, and I'm not even thinking that it's still hot. My arm just lightly for like 2 seconds just grazes across the top of the closed stainless steel waffle iron. And when I tell you my skin just came right off, I felt the pain, but it was more like, as you guys can see, I'm like showing, even though this was nothing and compared to what MJ experienced, but I was more like, just at, not even so much the pain as much as I was traumatized. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I'm seeing my skin come right up, right off, which I'm like, oh my God, do I need to go to the doctor? Like, I was thinking like, do I need a freaking skin graft or some stuff, which hindsight, you see how bad this is still. Like, maybe I did need it and I just never got it. I don't know. But usually, like when I'm wearing short sleeves, people will either ask about it, like they think I got into a fight and lost and I got bitten or something, which is not the case, or they just will not like ask about it. Not that you have to, it's not like crazy, but I'm just saying. It was like the second thing for him to imagine. Yeah, probably so. That's what I'm thinking too, because he was good. I mean, not that I didn't experience pain with this afterwards, because I did. But at the time, I was more like, oh, I need to go to the doctor. Oh, I need a skin. Like, it was, and this was bad. Like, I think this is probably constitutes at least as like a 2nd-degree burn here. And he experienced 2nd and 3rd-degree burns to his scalp. So it probably was a lot of adrenaline, and he's just cool. Like, MJ was nobody's punk. Like, let's take a moment to give him credit for being kind of raw dog. Like, he was pretty tough through all the scrutiny and all that stuff, and even physical pain. He was pretty good, because I would be like crying, probably throwing up from just like, oh my God, and passing out, waking up to do it all over again. Like, I would not be cool enough and calm enough. I don't even think there's footage of MJ with those bandages on with any tears in his eyes. Like, he was, I mean, we need to take a moment to give him some credit, because just real cool, real, I'm not saying that he didn't feel pain or he didn't cry in private when there were no cameras or anything like that, and maybe a lot of it was adrenaline. But I like I said, with my minor, but still it's big to me because I'm not used to any burns and stuff. And prior to 2020, I didn't have any scars and stuff. Like, I was not used to that. But that was pretty severe for me. So I could only imagine. But a lot of my reaction was just of what was happening rather than the feel of pain for me. So maybe that was the same for him. And he still always had that mindset of like, execute. I'm an entertainer. I do this, like, I don't know. But let's just talk about like the course. I don't want to digress too far. I don't want to digress too far off talking about me, because I know that's why you guys did not click on. You guys clicked on to hear about MJ. But that was just my way of really like feeling like this was relatable. No, mine was nowhere near severe as that, but just in that instant, I felt nothing but panic and nothing but like, oh my God, rather than like, ow. But still, later it was ow and it just was. Okay, but back to MJ. So, so let's just talk a little bit. But yeah, so as I mentioned, at the time, this was one of the largest celebrity endorsement deals that were had. I hope you guys can see me. Can you guys see me? Can you guys see MJ? You guys can see? Okay. All right, we're good. We're back. Okay. At the time, and it was an endorsement deal he had with his brothers. And just also to show what a humanitarian MJ was. Like I say, this was actually settled outside of court. It did not go to court. Pepsi awarded or agreed to settle with MJ at $1.5 million, all of which he donated to the burn center where he was treated, so that they could, I guess, build an improved center or something like that. But even still, he did not keep any of the funds. And in my opinion now, just retrospect, knowing how impactful that event was, 1.5 was not enough. It was not enough money. In 1984, Dallas' performance there was part of his hair all sweaty and laid down. Hands over the top of his head, and he saw a small bald patch clearly. Really? Wow, I'll have to look that up. I didn't know that. Riker just left an excellent comment, you guys. Please do check out later. But yeah, he said that, okay, and on the top of his head, I saw a small. You probably did. Wow. And then, as we know, this also led to his wearing of wigs. But he had so much that happened. And then later on that same year, he was diagnosed with lupus. I didn't know that. I did not know that. I did not know that. I'm not sure. I'm sorry if it's taking so long for me to read a lot of your comments, you guys. It's just the fluorescent lights, but I love that you guys are leaving comments because this is what it's about. I'm not sure if that's his burn or... No, it could have very well have been, because I saw shortly after that he was wearing hats. Well, he wore hats anyway, but I think that, he wore hats anyway because, you know, MJ, very stylish and stuff. But I think immediately coming out of that, where he was making more appearances, then he started wearing hats. And that might have been before whoever his hairstylist was that came up with, you know, the use of wigs for him in that area. But, you know, as we know, severe burns and stuff like that, a lot of times, especially if it's in an area where someone once had hair, like your hair is not going to grow back. Like that's damaged skin, damaged area, nerves, whatever, that is not going to allow for hair to regrow. But MJ, like I said, he donated, being the humanitarian that he is or was, donated all of what he got from the settlement to the burn center where he was treated. And he, like I said, he could also be seen taking photos with other patients at the burn center as well. But what else? Okay. But yeah, so also just to get back more to how it really impacted his life all the way up to, you know, his death, even though it's still a lot of controversy around that. And like you guys, like I've already said, you guys already know I'm kind of a conspiracy theorist, you know, certain things you know, but still, his addiction to painkillers, from that point on all the way through, had an impact on his life. And like I say, I'm not necessarily against painkillers because I know sometimes people could really experience some extreme pain and you need it. You need it. Singing, shake your body, kept grabbing the area, right? Really? And he might have been, because even in that 2007, but I don't know if it was other procedures that he had done, but even in 2007 during his Vogue, but I was reading for you guys can check out Riker's comment down below, but he was saying that, you know, during the performance, MJ was still grabbing at an area as though it was like still a lot of pain that he was experiencing, and probably so, because even in his 2007, I think it was 2007 Vogue photo shoot, or it might have been, I think it was 2007. You guys, my experts, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but the Vogue photo shoot that MJ did, you could clearly see it was like a point where the photographer, you know, it was the one where he had like that metal alloy thing that he had around his neck, and he was taking a lot of really cool shots with that. But it was, and it was also filmed. That photo shoot was, not only was it photos that were taken during it, but it was also kind of documented through video footage. And there was a part where the photographer wanted him to hold his head a certain way or something, and you could literally see pain in his face. Like MJ looked like almost, he did like a little light shake, but he was still, some type of pain he was experiencing in his scalp area. He just was. So I don't know if it was dating back to that, but they say after that he was always in pain. He always was feeling a certain, if it wasn't an intense, severe migraine headaches, he was feeling physical, pain from that after that. Okay, yeah, so you remember that, right? Riker says he remembers that, yep. So like I say, 1.5 in my little opinion is not enough. Now I know back then 1.5 probably was worth or had more value than it has today, but even still, you know, that led to a lifelong addiction to medical drugs. It also impacted his appearance. Now, right after that, his vitiligo had intensified, and it became more apparent and harder for him to cover up. So he was dealing with a lot. So still recovering, never quite fully recovered because, you know, like they say, lifelong pain that he had suffering after that incident. But he's dealing with that coupled in with his changing appearance. And like, this is just my theory that, you know, a lot of people felt that, okay, well, his complexion lightened and then he started wearing his hair straight. And I think, you know, my opinion with that is, one, he had vitiligo, and even his makeup artist at one point said, and I believe it, that, you know, prior to, she would try to cover up the light spots, but at a certain point it became so, you know, the whitened areas had become so large that she needed to cover up the dark spots. He had just that much on him. So I think, coupled in with his changing appearance, with his hair, just my theory, I think that he was doing his very best to look as normal, whatever that is, normal as he could. So, you know, just think about it. If you have ethnic features, yet your skin is, you know, very, very pale, bleach white, you know, I think even the wearing straighter hair pieces, wigs or whatever, along with certain things, was just MJ's attempt to look as, not just look all right, but, you know, you're an entertainer, you gotta look great. Yeah, I couldn't either. Me either. I couldn't imagine going to sleep after all that either. And I'm guessing you're talking about the pain of his scalp and all that. I don't know how, but I think that it's interesting, and that MJ was, on one hand, it's like, you know, MJ, be tough with these reporters, be tough, you know, clap back, be a little bit more savage in your responses. Like, but MJ was nobody's freaking punk. He took pain, he took scrutiny, he took a lot that most people, your average, forget about celebrity, but just your average person could not take. Very tough, because I don't know how he was able to sleep after that either. I don't know how he was able to deal, because like I say, you know, he had enough grace that even while being bandaged up on his way to the hospital, here he is still trying to wave and show everybody that he was okay. Gracious enough to tell, you know, allow doctors and nurses to take pictures of him all posed up the very next morning. Like, what the heck? I would have said, you know what? Thank you for helping me, but what the hell? Like, I'm trying to feel better here. I'm still in a lot of pain. Maybe next week or something, I'll come and I'll visit and take pictures with you guys. But like, I'm in a lot of pain. But he always was so gracious, always, you know, putting others, putting the interest of others and what the other people wanted over his own physical comfort. Yep, I would have been crying too. I would have been crying. I would have been snotting up, crying and snotting. I would have possibly even thrown up. And I'm not trying to gross anybody, but I'm just being honest. Like, you know, I'm such a punk with my little circle here. I'm like, you know, I'm like, oh my God, you know, really spazzing out. And I could only imagine. And he had enough grace and like, just, I guess he really didn't want, he was extremely strong, more than what given credit for. Like I say, even though he had a very gracious, almost passive demeanor when it came to a lot of scrutiny from the press, like he never really went in on anybody, he was still incredibly resilient and tough-minded, more mentally tough than your average. Like, you know, he didn't make it to be the king of pop for nothing. Like, he endured a lot, incredibly physically and mentally strong, because my God, they would have me on the cover of every magazine with snot and crying like, you know, that was it. That would be it. I may have retired after that. I don't care. I may have retired. That would have been it. I'm serious. I'm dead serious. Or I would have, because I wouldn't have wanted to do any concerts after that. Nothing. Yeah. So kind of gives you guys an idea of just how mentally tough I am with that. But yeah, he was, and then there's a lot of footage, some of which I have on my channel, of MJ practicing moonwalking with bandages on while he's supposed to be at home healing. Here he is, all bandaged up, in this home footage of him practicing moonwalking and practicing all his moves at home. Like, you know, he really had a life that was devoted to entertainment. And like I say, sad in a sense, in that, not that his life was devoted to that, it's just that, like, you could really say he lived his life like inside of a fishbowl. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird. Like, he reached the pinnacle, you know, success. He's a celebrity, he has fame, he has money and all that, but you know, everything that he did pretty much was devoted to entertainment. And that's why he created Neverland, to really kind of be able to escape and have some level of just being normal without, you know, just think about it. Anytime he wanted to go to the grocery store, go to the mall, like, everything had to shut down. So that means, again, you're isolated. You're here, you're there, but you have to be by yourself. They have to shut down an entire place. Yep, he was. That's crazy. That is crazy. I knew the day, but I didn't know it was just a month after his 8 Grammy wins. I didn't know that. Wow. Excellent information, you guys. Again, like I say, please do check out comments that are left in the chat. Riker right now is leaving some really good info. I did not know. I knew the day, but I did not know that that was only a month after. Like, my God. And that would have been enough for me, because I would have said, hey, I got my Grammys. Oh my God, I'm done. I'm retiring. This is, you know, that would have been that's all she wrote. With that, I would, you know, my God. But he was like a machine, and he just was about performing and pleasing his fans, the public, meeting people's expectations and keeping it moving. February 27th, or at least, I mean, not February 27th, January 27th. Wait, you say, wait. He was, well, no, at least what I read, that he was burned on January 27th of 1984. But you say February 28th? Or you say, oh, a month later. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't see, it's the fluorescent lights, Riker. It's the fluorescent lights. Okay, so you say a month later. Oh my God. Okay, geez. And he's smiling at the Grammys and stuff. MJ was nobody's punk. Okay, he was nobody's punk. Let's make that very clear. Okay. Okay, yeah, I didn't know. Okay, you said a month later, February 28th was his 8 Grammy win. Okay, wow. I thought you said he had already won his Grammys. Wow. So yeah, that just shows, like, yeah, incredibly tough. But again, like I say, I just really wanted you guys to, you know, for a lot of times I think that this incident is mentioned, but when people do want to criticize MJ, it's never, yeah, facts. So true. A lot of times when people want to criticize MJ and you know, talk about whatever, just mention a lot of vices. Oh, well, he was on drugs, and oh, he was high, and or just, you know, whatever. He wore whatever. When they want to mention all these negative things, rarely do they really want to take a moment to take in how this event kind of had a trickle effect on the other events of his life. And this was huge. And I think that because MJ kind of was able to hold his composure, you know, always assure people he's okay, he's fine, he's still waving, he's still, you know, he's still all right, that this event really was not as blown up as it should have been. I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't all over the news, but I'm just saying, like, no one really attributes a lot of other issues that he had to this event, like I think should have been the case. Yeah, people have a lot of bad things to say, but rarely do they want to say, okay, well, you know what, if he may have had an addiction to prescription drugs, but he was also had a life, his lifelong, he was feeling that pain, you know, from that event that happened in 1984. I mean, Lord, if it is true that the doctors had to use balloons to stretch out his skin and put in a plate and all that kind of stuff, and he experienced severe migraines and just a lot of physical, you know, pain after that, okay, well, his use of any kind of opioids, that, I mean, heck, that's why. And even if, let's just say he was not, which he was, experiencing lifelong pain like that, even still, a lot of these prescription drugs, unfortunately, they help at the time, but they are incredibly addictive. And I mean, boom, bam, there. And then in terms of him having to wear hair pieces and things like that hair did not grow back in that area. It just didn't. So he's all at once kind of like he's experiencing all these physical changes, right? He has to figure out, it's still all eyes on him. You know, he's still living his life under a microscope, you know, all eyes on MJ, but okay, well, like, what is he going to do? He's not only is he physically feeling a lot of pain, but he's trying to still look normal again. Okay, so he had the use of wearing wigs and probably trying to blend it as well as possible. And then he has the physical appearance change brought on by vitiligo and trying his best, you know, so he was just dealing with a lot of stuff. Through it all, he still kept up his composure, great attitude, better than what I think your average celebrity or just person would have dealing with all that stuff at once. Just amazing. But yeah, I just wanted to take a minute to just really kind of reflect on that event. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything from you guys either. Oh yeah, but this I thought was, you know, bogus. So sorry if you guys hear some noise in my background. My window is open. But MJ said that what he found to be most hurtful about that entire event, you know, after all that, what he found to be most hurtful was the jokes that were made about his hair catching fire and, you know, people making jokes about, oh, it's cherry curl and all that kind of stuff, which was the style back then. Even if I don't know if he had one or he didn't have one, but I do know in the 80s is supposed to be when that was in style anyway. So, but he said that he found that to be most hurtful, which I can understand. Like, you're filming this commercial, whatever, through it all, tragic, horrible events happens. You're trying to keep composure, you're trying to smile, still smile when you're in pain. Okay, well, still holding up that you know, showing everybody you're all right. At the freaking burn center, still trying to like smile. You're in a lot of pain, which I think would have been in order if he had told the doctors and nurses, like, you all are gonna have to wait with all that. Thank you for helping me. I'll come back when I feel better, and you know, whatever, we'll make an event of it. But right now I'm in pain, no pictures. But he was still, you know, kept grace, did all of that, taking pictures, which I thought was incredibly nice, taking pictures with other patients at the burn center. Even once he got the money and it was settled, all of it, all of the money from that settlement, he just donated straight over to the burn center where he was treated. And yet through it all, here's the public making jokes about his hair catching fire. Like that, and I can understand, he said that he did find that to be incredibly hurtful. You know, my God. And I could understand that. Yeah, I think a lot of, but throughout, you know, like I say, MJ experienced a lot of scrutiny, a lot of nasty jokes, a lot of sketch comedy. Yep, isn't that horrible? Just silly. Silly, even though, or at least I think they say, I don't know if it was, I don't know, whatever, a Mad TV or something, and the Wayans brothers, not the Wayans brothers, but the Wayans, whatever they had, their comedy thing, the In Living Color thing. But anyway, supposedly there was a lot of jokes that were made about MJ, a lot of things that were tragic events, like you know, like just a lot of stuff made light of, on top of tabloids making, you know, probably phrasing a lot of articles in humorous ways, pointing fun at something that was as horrific as it was, and yet still great attitude, still wanting to please the public even afterwards, still smiling, waving, gracious to reporters, and I don't know, hats off to him. And I don't know if I mentioned already, which I think I might have, MJ still knew that it was only an accident, that it wasn't on purpose, the Pepsi incident. And afterwards, he still signed another endorsement deal with them, but for like $10 million after that. But still kept a working relationship with Pepsi. So that's my little spiel on that particular. But I think that when a lot of people want to criticize MJ and they want to talk about a lot of negative vices, oh, he was this, he was that, a lot of the stuff was just one-sided, just completely one-sided coverage of things that, and not enough attention brought to, well, okay, we're not just going to look at what happened or not what happened, but, you know, let's look at some of the root causes of some behaviors or whatever. Just, I don't know, but yeah, so I'm not going to ramble anymore. Oh, also, you guys, if you all are still hanging in there and you guys have not clicked off, please do check me out on TikTok while it's still up, please. I'm Leela Michelle on there. You guys can look me up. A lot of my content, as I always say, I call myself a celebrity entertainment content creator. Not to sound so over the top, even though it's a over the top title, is because I literally cover celebrities and entertainment, that type of content. But a lot of the content, I do cover MJ and MJ related content, even with other celebs. Some of these with his father, some family making 80s burn. I can't quite see it. Wait, 2000s trial. Wait. Death he went through a terrible. He did go through a lot of terrible things his entire life. From the 70s, well, you guys, please do make sure you all read these comments. It's a lot of good information that's being shared. Riker is really giving some really good stuff. Just basically saying that MJ dealt with stuff from the 70s through the 80s. It was always, you know, even into the 2000s. His life was not without just a lot of stresses that the average person, including myself, probably would not have been as mentally tough to deal with as MJ did, and smiled and made it look like, you know, he was all good. Just amazing. But yeah, you guys, so like I say, do check me out on TikTok, as well as you guys can check out my Instagram. Even though I have not uploaded, I have to get back into the habit of it. No excuses with that. But like I say, I was on Instagram prior to, but it was for a different project. So this is me getting back into the habit of uploading and posting, keeping up fresh posts on my Instagram. But I am Leela Michelle is what you guys can look me up under on Instagram. I am Leela Michelle. And then also, please do, I'm going to escape out of this really quick. I don't know why my computer just did that. It was really weird there, but so you guys can also check out my website, which is leelamichelle.com. On there, it's a nice mix of my merchandise which also sometime this weekend should be updated. I'm also going to throw in some newer items, but on here, if you guys check out my website, I have a lot of MJ merch, but I also have merch that is related to other celebs and other entertainment content. So do feel free to check that out. And like I said, I'm going to do like a nice little refresher and put up some newer merch for you guys to pick from. And then media, if you guys go into LeilaMichelle.com, you all will see these icons. Got my Instagram and my TikTok is still there. Of course, YouTube. And then to contact me, you guys can fill this out and it will ding my Gmail. You guys will be subscribing. So anytime I upload any new content or you guys just have comments or whatever, you feel free to do that. And then if you hit contact, then you guys will hit my email, my business email, which is LeilaMichelle3, the number 3 at gmail.com. Again, that's LeilaMichelle3 at gmail.com. But that, it's a lot of different ways to contact me. Even if you guys fill this out, that is still going to ding a message in that LeilaMichelle3. But that's another way to just send me your contact. And then also, again, if you guys want to subscribe. So I enjoyed this live. And like I say, a lot of great information was shared. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this live. Shouts out to Riker, to Marquise. And then thanks you guys. And then also for you guys that may be checking this out at a later date and you're not speaking the language, which I know that means you don't know what I'm saying right now at this moment, but just a little FYI, I think it takes about a day or two after the video processes for you to have the option to close caption. Bye, I enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Thanks, Riker. I enjoyed it too. And a lot of great information shared, and I'm sure people are going to read your comments in the live chat later. So thanks you guys so much. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. I will be back tomorrow. I'm not going to give a time because I don't want to disappoint. But I will be back on here tomorrow, and I will see you guys later. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.